an overcast 54-degree day in Philadelphia. 65,000 a capacity crowd at Veterans Stadium for the Miami Dolphins and the Philadelphia Eagles. For the first time in 4 weeks, Dan Marino back in uniform, making it back from the broken right ankle. He is listed as the emergency third quarterback, but could be waiting in the wings for a fourth quarter appearance. But Craig Erickson will start for the third straight game in a matchup with Ty Detmer playing for the injured Rodney Peete. This is a meeting of two teams gunning for their fifth win of the season. Hi, everybody. I'm Marv Albert along with Sam Weish. And for Craig Erickson, a very impressive performance in the win over the Bills in Buffalo last Sunday. And Sam, he appears to be much more comfortable with the offense.
Not only with the offense, Marv, but I think with just taking the snap from center a couple of weeks ago in a downpour in Miami against Seattle, he fumbled 3 balls from center. But this team wants to run the ball, high percentage passing with Craig Erickson, who can do it. And as Jimmy Johnson pointed out to us last week and this week, punting the ball isn't all bad. Just no turnovers from this offense.
And for the Eagles, Ty Detmer will make his second straight start. Defense did it last week against the Giants, but the Eagles would certainly like to accelerate the offense.
The Eagles haven't thrown a touchdown pass in 3 ball games, and with the 6-foot-tall Ty Detmer at quarterback and his timed quick throws, some of them 3-step drops, he's going to have to be careful of those outstretched arms of the defensive line of the Miami Dolphins, which average just under 6'5".
All right, so it's the Eagles and the Dolphins coming up. We'll be back with the opening kickoff from the Vet in Philadelphia in a moment. Well, the Eagles have won the toss, and they will receive. The Eagles coming off the win over the Giants, 19-10 last week at the Meadowlands. They have Derek Witherspoon and Mark Say back awaiting the kick from Joe Nedney. Here's Nedney, the first-year man from San Jose State, who has been doing well with kickoffs. And Witherspoon will stay right there. So they'll bring it out to the 20-yard line, and here comes Ty Detmer in his 5th year out of Brigham Young, playing for Rodney Peete, who is out for the season. A look at the offensive line, and we'll see some shuffling. We probably will see the massive rookie first-round draft pick Jermaine Mayberry get in today. Richard Cooper has been struggling the last couple of games. Detmer, the quarterback. Ricky Waters, Kevin Turner are the running backs. Waters last week against the Giants ran for 110 yards on 27 carries. And, of course, Irving Fryer, the one-time Miami Dolphin. And Detmer throwing on first down and completes a short pickup. Zach Thomas and Lewis Oliver making the stop. Stubbs, Gardner, Bowens, and Burton on the front line for Miami. Zach Thomas, who had another outstanding game last week against Buffalo, is in the middle. Buckley tied for the NFL lead with 5 interceptions. And Sean Wooden has replaced Gene Atkins at free safety. 2nd down and 5. And the pass intended for Chris T. Jones. We were talking with Kevin Turner after practice on Friday, and penalty marker is down, and he was telling us that usually Ricky Waters does well when they get the ball to him early, get him involved in the early going.
They want him to carry the ball early because he has more confidence in his blocking when he has early success. Let's hear the penalty.
Illegal hands to the face mask, holding on the face mask by the offense, number 77. 10-yard penalty, repeat 2nd down.
Well, that's the right tackle, Richard Cooper. As we mentioned, he has been having problems the last 2 ball games. Ricky Waters, who is averaging 4.5 yards per carry.
You know, Marv, he is 3rd in the NFL in first quarter rushing. So they get him the ball early. They know it's important for him to have early success.
It is a 2nd and 15 back at the 15-yard line. And this is Waters finding the hole, cross midfield, and taken down inside the 40 by Terrell Buckley.
And that's what you call early success, a 46-yard run. And he started to the left, The hole broke open on the backside. He just cut back, and then it was a foot race. Terrell Buckley a little faster and had the angle on him. Straight handoff coming off the left side right here. Eyes open, head up. Changes the ball over to the right side. You know, the ball carrier always wants the majority of the ball of the would-be tacklers coming at the side of the body that does not have the ball. Reduces the number of fumbles.
46-yard run is long for the season. 56. Detmer's pass. Touchdown, Eagle. Irving Fryer.
Marvin will go down as a beautiful catch, but I don't think he was throwing to Irving Fryer.
Irving Fryer, the one-time Miami Dolphin, with his second touchdown of the season.
Ty Detmer's looking to the right, little pump fake, and then he had to go to his alternate receiver. Now you're going to see two receivers down here. I think he was probably throwing the ball down the field to number 30, Charlie Garner, down the sideline, and Irving Fryer came in for another step.
And the point after by Gary Anderson, capping off 3 plays for 80 yards. So the Eagles, with their first touchdown pass, the last 3 games they had gone 14 quarters without one.
NFL on NBC is brought to you by Acura, who invites you to test drive the new flagship of Acura, the RL. By Transamerica, the power of the pyramid is working for you. By Aptiva, the extraordinary home computer from IBM. And by Brewery Fresh Budweiser, who reminds you fresh beer tastes better.
Well, the Philadelphia Eagles striking quickly. Ty Detmer's first touchdown pass of the season. And Anderson's kickoff played by McPhail. Jarris McPhail, a rookie from East Carolina, running it back for 17 yards. Kickoff coverage by the Eagles has been a problem throughout the season.
Irving Fryer making that catch, and here you see right in the end zone there, Charlie Garner is running down the sideline, and I really believe, and we won't know until the press conference after the ball game who he was throwing to, and then he's going to say he threw the ball to Irving Fryer all the way.
And for Ty Detmer, the longest completion of his NFL career, a 38-yard pass play. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar gets the call, and a flag is thrown. James Willis, Michael Zordich make the stop. And the holding call against Miami. Let's check out the Dolphin offense up front. Richmond Webb, Keith Sims, Tim Ruddy, Chris Gray, James Brown. 2 All-Pros on the left side. The quarterback is Craig Erickson. The running backs, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who has been quiet as of late, and fellow rookie Stanley Pritchett. Randall Hill, who has been a favorite receiver of his University of Miami teammate Craig Erickson. O.J. McDuffie and Troy Drayton, the tight end, who has emerged as the starter, his second straight start, signed after the departure of Keith Byers. 2 minutes gone by. Eagles 7, Dolphins nothing. Off the screen, Abdul-Jabbar could not hold on. I'll look at the Eagle defensive alignment. Up front, Fuller, Harmon, Hall, and Mamula. Fuller with 6 sacks, 2 last week. Mamula, who had been quiet, 2.5 sacks last week against the Giants. The middle linebacker, James Willis, leading the Eagles in tackles. William Thomas had a terrific game last week, NFC Defensive Player of the Week. And Troy Vincent, the one-time Miami Dolphin, a strong secondary for the Eagles. It is a 2nd down and 20. And Erickson pass caught by the tight end Drayton, but it is a short pickup, and he's run out by the outside linebacker William Thomas. Craig Erickson telling us yesterday that although he's a guy who certainly is crammed and is a fast learner, as you know from your days with him at Tampa Bay, he has had some problems learning the offense.
Well, they were on the field the other day. Troy Drayton and then Fred Barnett stepped in, who hasn't been in the lineup this year. and a play was called by Gary Stevens set a play in, and they asked Craig Erickson, what do I do? And he started telling them. Finally, he looked at himself and looked at them and said, I don't know what to do. But he is so far ahead of where he was 2 weeks ago that we're going to see a different Craig Erickson today.
3rd down and 13. Erickson getting the time, but could not find anyone. And now throwing on the run. The Dolphins looking for interference on Vincent for the coverage on Miller, but there's no call. Scott Miller, 6-year man from UCLA, tried to make the adjustment.
Unfortunately, Craig Erickson could have run for the 1st down, and he is trying to make a big play right here. You see that they're just at the very last minute. Troy Vincent turns his head around. That avoided the interference possibility.
So John Kidd has come on to punt from his 10. Mark Say is back. And a beauty by Kidd. Here's Say. With running room and tripped up at midfield. Mark Say was on the verge of breaking one. A 50-yard punt, 26-yard return. The Eagles back to the offense. You're watching the NFL on NBC.
And here's Mark Say catching the punt just moments ago. The return to his left. And we watch Adam Walker gets away with a clip right down here in the corner. You're going to see it right there. Right in the back. A week ago, the New York Giants got away with one as Amani Toomer ran one back 65 yards for a touchdown.
And that is special teams coach Danny Smith, who has been under fire as of late for the Eagles kickoff and punt team deficiencies. Here is Denver throwing deep again, and once again looking for Irving Fryer. Ray Rhodes said after the game against the Giants last week that Danny Smith must be held accountable. But he made it clear he has no intention of firing Smith. Ray came up with the old "it was blown out of proportion" statement. Now, have you used that one also?
I use it quite often myself, but it was really in response to a question. Someone asked him at a press conference about accountability about Danny Smith, and he was responding to a question. He wasn't bringing up a special point to be made.
Danny Smith coaching the Eagles special teams. This is Waters on a short pickup. 7-0 the Philadelphia Eagles with the lead. 11:25 remaining in this first quarter. Shane Burton, Zach Thomas making the stop on that first series for the Dolphins defensively. Jimmy Johnson starting Daniel Stubbs and Shane Burton. In fact, Stubbs on the left side, and now Trace Armstrong, who had a big game last week against Buffalo, is back on the field. Some questions about Trace Armstrong. 0 tackles first 3 games, and then came on strong against the Bills with a couple of sacks. Waters on the reception, short of the first down by about a yard.
Ray Rhodes thinks that Ty Detmer has a special knack for going to the alternate receiver. He only looks downfield in his retreat as he's dropping back, that time a 5-step drop. He's looking to see if anything's going to develop downfield. If those linebackers of the Miami Dolphins turn and run, Ray Rhodes says that this man right here, Ty Detmer, lays the ball off and has excellent timing as to when to do it and when to throw that ball away. It looks like on 4th down, they're going for it.
It is a 4th and 1 at the Miami 40. Waters. And it appears he picked it up. Stopped by Chris Singleton. Ricky Waters.
Going to be close, Marv. That one's probably going to get a measure. They went right at Zach Thomas, the #1 tackler with 77 tackles this year for Miami. On 4th and 1.
Ray Rhodes turning 46 years of age today. Says his birthday is the last thing he's thinking about. He said if he could, he'd put his birthday off until August. I've often felt the same way, Sam.
Well, yeah,
you could kind of pick the date you'd like, you know.
I think it's interesting that you put your 46th birthday off now for several years.
Oh, absolutely. It is a first down for the Eagles.
Gutsy call by Ray Rhodes. Just straight up the middle, lead blocker. Kevin Turner is the most important guy on this play right here. He's got to try to put his helmet right on Zach Thomas. Gets him down enough. A nice run by Ricky Waters.
Eagles first down at the Dolphin 39-yard line. Now to the other side. Waters breaking tackles and has a first down. Lewis Oliver finally able to wrestle him to the ground. A 16-yard advance, and Waters 4 carries for 66 yards.
They wanted to get him started fast, and they're certainly doing that. Excellent blocking up front, but this guy has unusual burst. It's right there in the hole. You saw him accelerate, get in and protect that football. He's got that right hand all the way over the end of the football, the rest of the ball cradled against his body.
First down at the Miami 23-yard line. Fryer left, Jones to the other side, and this time Waters is tripped up. The right corner, Calvin Jackson, able to make the stop. Well, Ricky Waters last season had a career year. He ran for 1,273 yards. This year, 3 100-yard rushing games. Through 6 games, he's run for 576 yards. He's averaging just under 100 yards per game.
At 129 carries coming into this game, the next most used running back was Charlie Waters, only 20 carries.
Second down and 7. And Detmer completing. Once again, it's Irving Fryer. Ball down by Zach Thomas.
Irving Fryer is coming from his right to his left. Interesting enough, Ty Detmer is taking deep drops, getting away from the outstretched hands of that defensive line of the Miami Dolphins. I think Miami wanted to try to knock down some of the quick throws of Ty Detmer. He's not making those quick throws. He's going to secondary receivers a lot, and when he's going to his primary receiver, it's a full drop.
Another first down for the Eagles down at the 12. Detmer 4-5, 58 yards. Now back to the ground. Waters breaking tackles inside the 5-yard line. They have had difficulty bringing Ricky Waters down. Wooden and Oliver were able to combine to stop him inside the 5. So that's 77 yards on 6 carries for Waters.
And that was a priority for Kevin Turner coming into this ball game. A fast start for Ricky Waters so that his confidence was built in the offensive line, blocking that defensive line and linebackers of the Miami Dolphins, in particular Zach Thomas.
Second down and 2 at the 4. You see the movement in the line, and Waters is brought down back behind the line by Trace Armstrong. Let's check out the flags. The referee is Ed Hockley. It is against Miami.
On almost every snap leading up to that one, let's hear the call here from Ed.
Offsides by the defense, left tackle, half the distance to the goal, repeat second down.
You know, Jimmy Johnson's watching what we're watching, and on almost every snap in the last drive and in this drive, the snap count has been on a rhythmic, looks like about a 2 count, same count. Suddenly he went on a different count, a longer count, and drew the penalty. And as a coach, there's not a thing you can do except fold your arms and say, men, watch the ball, move on the ball, not on the voice of the quarterback. You know, the quarterback will throw it up 1 octave. He'll go hut, hut, and the voice will throw up, and it's amazing how much of a pull that has on your reflexes.
It is a 2nd and 1 down at the 2-yard line. Fryer peeling off. And Waters battling his way. The Philadelphia Eagles off to the fast start against a Miami Dolphin team that came up with an enormous victory last week. Bouncing back from the loss to Seattle. They sacked Jim Kelly 7 times, 3 interceptions, and winning up in Buffalo. Jimmy Johnson so ecstatic after the game, he gave every player and coach a game ball for the effort. Jimmy Johnson saying the Dolphins had to overcome the thought that they could not win without Marino. Well, today Dan Marino is the emergency 3rd quarterback. But the Eagles getting to it early offensively. 10th play of the drive. They did pick up the first down. It's a 1st and goal at the 1. Detmer throwing. Touchdown again, Irving Fryer.
A big confidence boost for Ty Detmer. These first 2 drives where he has been almost letter perfect in his throwing. but also in his ball handling with the running game. You know, when you got a new quarterback, and he's going to be your quarterback the rest of the year, these kind of games right here can set you up for victories down the road, not just this afternoon. Of course, this game's long from being over, but an early 13-0 lead.
Ty Detmer throwing his first 2 touchdown passes of the season. Remember, coming in, the Eagles had not thrown one the last 3 games. That was 14 quarters back. The previous TD pass prior to today, Rodney Peete against Detroit, September 15th. Rodney Peete on the left, Ty Detmer on the right side. Ty feeling a little bit better about things after throwing his 2nd touchdown to Irving Fryer. And again, a short kickoff. Irving spikes. McPhail providing the blocking, and Spikes is run out at the 33-yard line. It's a 24-yard return. Mark Woodard forced him out.
Ty Detmer's touchdown pass to Irving Fryer. You know, you can't throw down the field very far. You've got a 10-yard end zone to worry about. You've got to throw to the flats. And generally, because of the threat of the run, you get the edge on him. J.J. Jimmy Johnson is making sure that this team understands you're still in the first quarter. You're still in it. You got to keep your spirit up. Just get that touchdown and get yourself rolling.
But the Eagles pumped up that last touchdown drive, 10 plays, 49 yards. They had the ball 5 minutes and 46 seconds. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar able to find the hole. Ray Farmer, Michael Zordich combined to make the stop. Abdul-Jabbar carrying for the first time. He has had his difficulties recently. Last week, 37 yards, 25 carries. A reminder, next Saturday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's the Breeders' Cup live from Toronto, Canada. The richest day in racing, the 13th running of the Breeders' Cup. Next Saturday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on NBC. 2nd down and 4 at the 40-yard line. Erickson able to stand in, couldn't find anybody, and then just throws it away. The intended receiver, O.J. McDuffie, had pulled up at about the 40-yard line, covered by Troy Vincent.
That's the 2nd time, though, that Craig Erickson had a chance to run for a first down. It was 2nd down and about 4 yards, or a long 3. He could have made that one and looked from up here, but he decided to go deep, and, of course, the receiver broke it off short. Craig Erickson dropped straight back, trying to see the whole field, looking to his left. Just a 3-step drop. Now as he moves to the right, you see the open field. Just take it. You need 3.5 yards. Get that first down.
Jarris McPhail, the rookie from East Carolina, has been a 3rd down specialist. He is in there on this 3rd and 4. Erickson, bullet pass for the first down, combining with O.J. McDuffie. William Thomas, Michael Zordich combined to make the stop. It is a 17-yard advance.
Now, last week, Philadelphia had 8 sacks against the New York Giants. Craig Erickson is having an awful lot of time so far in this ball game, and you see the slide to get open. The coverage by Zordich was good inside initially, but receivers are taught, as you look back, if you can't see the quarterback, if somebody's standing between you and the quarterback, an Eagle, slide to the open area and catch the ball.
Miami 1st and 10 at the Philadelphia 43. Once again, Erickson can't find anyone. Excellent coverage by the Eagles. And the pass intended for the fullback, Stanley Pritchett, who was covered by middle linebacker James Willis.
That time Craig Erickson was flushed out of the pocket, but up until that point, he's had to move within the pocket, which is part of being a quarterback, finding the throwing lanes and looking downfield, but he hasn't really been flushed out of the pocket. And Jimmy Johnson is looking for the interference called down the field, is what he's unhappy about, because as the quarterback rolled to his right and tried to throw back across the middle, it did look like the defender was sliding down the body of the would-be receiver. Of course, coaches like to plead their case early in the ball game so that they can kind of get some of the energy out of their system as well.
You can relate to that on a first-hand basis. Here's Erickson, this time a quick release. He threw into a crowd and was able to complete. The tight end Troy Drayton on the reception, met by Farmer and Willis but short of a first down. We're just under 4 minutes remaining in this opening quarter. Eagles 14 and the Dolphins nothing. 2 touchdown passes from Detmer to the one-time Dolphin Fryer. Marv Albert, Sam Weish from Veterans Stadium. Overcast day. The rain has stayed away today. And Fred Barnett has checked in for the first time. Well, that pass hit the defender in the back. Larry Wilburn will get credit for a pass defense. It was intended for O.J. McDuffie as Erickson hits.
For the
Erickson
first time,
hits the dirt.
Yeah, he was hit early on that one. Nobody had time to see anything develop. Not only was Mamula, but you see William Thomas coming in there, pulling off early. And more defenders, as they rush the quarterback, are learning that if you will just pull off, even if you have incidental contact, that official understands you're not trying to personal foul the quarterback. They'll let you get away with it.
It is a 4th down and 6 at the 39-yard line, and now Miami calls for time. 3:23 remaining in this first quarter. We'll be right back. Miami Dolphins running back coach Kippy Brown, who was with you in Tampa Bay last season, despite that, is back in the National Football League.
I stole him from the University of Tennessee, where he's the assistant head coach. A good one. Dion's better half. 4th
down and 6 at the 39. And Erickson completes to McPhail and has a first down. Juris McPhail run down by Zordich, and Dawkins picked up 12.
McPhail is the 3rd down back, and really as time moves on, when this offense develops and as years pass by, we're going to see this guy become more and more a part of the Miami Dolphins. He may be as good as the whole bunch of running backs, and they've got some good ones. The 2 rookies, of course, in Pritchett and Abdul-Jabbar. And Jimmy Johnson, there's a square-jawed look at it. We'll make things happen, get back in this game.
First down at the 27-yard line. Abdul-Jabbar battling for yardage. Michael Zordich, Hollis Thomas combined to make that stop.
You know, Marv, Kippy Brown, you can see him giving the call now, talking through the walkie-talkie to Craig Erickson. Gary Stevens is the coordinator calling the plays, talks through Kippy. Here's Gary Stevens right here. He tells Kippy what to say, and he will give Kippy will tell not only the formation, but the play. A lot of trouble with that headset, though, over a lot of teams are having it this year.
2nd down and 5. Erickson again throws short range, completing with McDuffie. Willis and Zordich are right there. 2nd catch by O.J. McDuffie. It'll be a 3rd and about a yard down at the 17-yard line. Dan Marino, who is listed today as the emergency 3rd quarterback.
The good quarterbacks will stand right next to that call. They want to know what every play that's going in, so they can live it before it's actually run on the field.
This the 10th play of the drive. McDuffie flanked to the left side. It's back to the ground. Oh, what a stop on Abdul-Jabbar. James Willis able to cut him off.
Middle linebacker. This is a linebacker that was with Ray Rhodes at Green Bay. He was on injury reserve there and was waived a year ago. They picked him up. Very strong. They were telling me the other day that he's not as sudden as they would like at times, but right here, absolutely sudden enough for Abdul-Jabbar.
Not as sudden.
Suddenly he's sudden.
And Joe Nedney on to attempt a 37-yard field goal, only 6 of 11 for the season. This one is good. Joe Nedney, the man to replace Peter Stoyanovich. He's had some adventurous days. Missed last week from 33, although battling through a stiff wind, but hits from 37. And the Eagles now lead the Dolphins 14-3 with 41 seconds remaining in this first quarter.
You know, when a quarterback comes off the field, if you've got a veteran like Dan Marino, he'll be right there, not only just encouraging, but he's saying something meaningful right here. I guarantee he's talking about either a coverage or a read that he's seeing from the sideline, and then Kippy Brown follows it up from comments that he sees, as well as what Gary Stevens is seeing upstairs. The best view of all of them is sitting upstairs in that booth. I can tell you from being up here in this booth and being down there, there is no comparison. Half the time you can't see down there because the people standing dead in front of you.
I always wonder also when you see coaches arguing about calls at the other end of the field, what's your point of reference? Just what the heck, get in the argument just to win one the next time?
Well, I tell you what happens is one of these guys up here saw something, and he'll come down and he'll prime the coach down the field. And Gary Stevens now already talking to Marino, getting things ready for the next drive.
Again, Nedney with the powerful kick. That has been his strong point.
That's why he's on this football team. He has not been as accurate as you need to be in the NFL as a place kicker, even though inside the 30-yard line he's perfect, but outside the 30-yard kicks, rather. But he kicks that ball in the end zone, and they lead the league in kicks going to or in the end zone in the National Football League. Some of them have been brought out, but this guy can get up deep.
And Sam, that is the Dolphins' 10th touchback of the season. That's a very impressive mark. So they'll start out at the 20-yard line with 35 seconds remaining in this opening quarter. Eagles with a 14-3 lead. Charlie Garner in there now for Philadelphia. And gets the call. Ray Rhodes telling us the other day that he's hoping that Charlie will get more than the 2 touches that he got last week against the Giants. They would like to get him in, but it's tough when Ricky Waters is running as well as he is.
I had a chance to peek at their practice on Friday, and standing there next to Ray Rhodes, he thinks that Charlie Garner can be as good as any of the running backs in the league. He's got pure speed. He's got good hands. He's a willing blocker. But when you've got a guy playing like Ricky Waters is, you just can't. There's only one football. You can't get them all the ball.
1 quarter complete. The Eagles 14, the Dolphins 3. Well, you can't do any better than this. Philadelphia Eagles in their previous 2 possessions, 2 touchdown passes, Detmer to Fryer.
The touchdowns are the main thing. The fact that Ty Detmer had a chance to throw the touchdowns just adds to it.
2nd and 5 as this second quarter gets underway. The intended receiver, Chris T. Jones, second-year player out of Miami, a native of West Palm Beach. In fact, a Dolphin fan growing up in that area, has not been able to get into it recently. What's been his problem?
Ray Rhodes is wondering that one himself. A year ago, he wanted him in there. He should be running an out pattern. That's where the ball's going to be thrown. But he just runs straight up the field. In fact, he doesn't look like he's part of the play. That's why he didn't play last year. That's why they're still wondering when he's going to be ready this year.
And Ty Detmer did not look pleased about the completion of that route. Now Detmer able to complete right at the marker to Mark Say, who was covered by Sean Hill. Let's see where they spot it for Say, his first catch of the day.
You know, getting back to Chris T. Jones, it doesn't take long for a quarterback to lose confidence in his receiver if he keeps running the wrong route, or maybe not working to get open, running half-hearted routes. And that's where Chris T. Jones has got to come up to speed, because this guy, his nickname is Stretch. He's not pure speed. He runs just a little better than a 4.6 40, but he can go get the ball in a one-on-one situation. They need this guy to come on.
And the Eagles just shy of the first down, so the punting unit will check in as the first punt of the day for Tom Hutton. Hutton in his second year out of Tennessee, coming off an excellent rookie campaign. And O.J. McDuffie is back. Hutton looking to angle it. And here's McDuffie. And runs it out and is walloped as he crossed the 25-yard line. A flag is thrown. James Fuller making the play. A 55-yard punt and a 14-yard return.
They had this set up. They were trying to return the ball to the left. They had it set up but couldn't get him underway. Just watching the reaction of the Miami Dolphins and the reaction of Ray Rhodes, it looks like this one's going against the Eagles. You know, part of
I think that they should start talking about keeping the players away from the officials during these conferences, because they will come out and they'll, of course, make the gesture and indicate to the crowd ahead of the formal indication of what happened. But at the same time, the officials don't need their presence. They need their space right there so they can evaluate what happened, listen to each official, explain what he saw, and then the referee will make the call. And as you can see, these guys are having one heck of a good caucus.
There were fouls by both teams on the play. Holding by the receiving team, number 40. Personal foul face mask by the kicking team, number 56. And a personal foul continuing action, unnecessary roughness by the kicking team, number 22. The penalty's offset. Replay, 4th down.
Well, the calls against James Fuller and Joe Kelly of the Eagles. Fuller called for the personal foul for the unnecessary hit out of bounds, and Irving Spikes called on the Dolphins.
Ed Hockley calling the very first one. Joe Kelly holding prior to the punt, probably, or right at the punt. And the late hit on the sideline is the one that will probably draw a little more reaction as the game goes on. This game is going to get even more competitive than it is. But anytime you have offsetting penalties, regardless of the number, you're going to go back and play the down again.
So it is a do-over, and Hutton is back to punt at his 15-yard line. It's 4th and about a yard for the Eagles. The Eagles with a 14-3 lead on the Dolphins, getting off quickly on the 2 touchdown passes from Ty Detmer to Irving Fryer. We are early in the second quarter, just a minute gone by.
Play. The fouls were post-possession. Therefore, the holding by the receiving team is declined. The personal foul face mask by the kicking team is declined by rule. The personal foul unnecessary roughness by the receiving team will be enforced from the end of the kick. Miami will retain the ball, 1st down.
So further explanation, apparently Jimmy Johnson and Ray Rhodes wanted the specifics, and it turns out it will not be a re-kick. We'll be back to further sort it out in a moment.
Jimmy Johnson is furious over the way this one has unfolded. There were offsetting penalties during the kick. You got Joe Kelly. You're going to see him hold right here. That one is called. And then down the field, another penalty is called. But after the play ends, a post-possession penalty. Now watch the run. They set up the return to the left. That was not called. That was not a penalty. But coming back into play, one of the Dolphins personal fouls a Philadelphia Eagle, and so there is a 15-yard post-possession penalty after the play is over with. And Jimmy Johnson was furious during the break.
The end result, the Dolphins will start out 1st and 10 from their 17-yard line. Fred Barnett is back on the field for the second time. 14-3, Eagles leading Miami. Big hole opening up for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, stopped by the middle linebacker James Willis.
Both teams, we know, wanted to run the ball. The Philadelphia Eagles have done a tremendous job of it so far in the first quarter. And the Miami Dolphins are staying with their game plan. They're not going to change now. They're just down 14-3. This is one of those situations where you've got to keep your poise, stay with your game plan, even though the temptation is maybe to go back and try to jump back in the game.
Now the Dolphins have a 2nd and 2 at the 25-yard line. Abdul-Jabbar on a slant, closing on that 1st down territory. Willis and Zordich make the stop.
Looks like it's enough for a 1st down. It'll be very close. You know, the other interesting thing that we noticed in the first quarter is both teams set up with their full drop with their quarterback. There weren't a lot of quick throws, trying to make sure the quarterback didn't have sack problems. Remember, the Eagles sacked the Giants 8 times. The Dolphins sacked the Bills 7 times just a week ago.
It is a 1st down for Miami. Now McDuffie to the right and Barnett to the left. Short set by Erickson and completes to the tight end, Troy Drayton.
Just as soon as I say they're taking full drops, they take a 3-step retreat and throw the quick one to Troy Drayton. Drayton is the newest acquisition of the Miami Dolphins, and it picked up from the St. Louis Rams just a couple of weeks ago. I almost said it, but I didn't.
Little hesitation there, Sam. Yes,
but I didn't.
After Keith Byers was released, Drayton acquired from the Rams for offensive lineman Billy Milner. He's a local product out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Originally a second-round draft pick. Picked up 8 on that last play. 2nd and 2 at the 36. Erickson stepping up and then goes sideline, incomplete. Through the hands of Abdul-Jabbar, covered by Farmer.
You know, part of the technique of a quarterback is you go all the way back with your 5 or 7 steps and give the defensive line a landmark. You want them all the way back, plant. Now, right here's their landmark. That's where they're going to charge. Then you step up and let the offensive tackles push the defensive ends behind you. That gives you a field of vision down the field. It also tells the offensive lineman exactly what part of the turf they've got to protect. He had time to throw the ball as he has all day.
Erickson now 6 of 12, 51 yards. Dolphins have not been able to get going offensively. Off the roll. It is picked off on a deflection. Brian Dawkins with the interception. And looked like William Thomas able to get a piece of it.
There's a little bit of a discussion. Was there interference? There is never interference after the ball is tipped. You cannot interfere with a receiver at that point. That time they moved the pocket a little bit. Rather than have the landmark right behind the center, Craig Erickson rolled to his left. Tougher for a right-handed quarterback. And as you see, William Thomas reached up and tipped the ball. Stayed in the air long enough for Brian Dawkins to intercept it.
And for Dawkins, his 2nd interception of the season, the rookie out of Clemson, sets up the Eagles first down at the 26-yard line. A sweep with Waters looking to cut back inside, and then his gang tackle picked up 2 on the play. Thomas and Oliver on the stop. Look at other scores. Dallas with a 17-6 lead on Atlanta. Miami will play Dallas next week. Indianapolis 3-0 over New England early 2nd quarter. Washington with a 14-0 lead coming into today. Redskins 5-1, a full game in front of the Philadelphia Eagles. Skins have won 5 straight after losing to the Eagles on opening day. 2nd down and 8 at the 24-yard line. Detmer throwing off the roll. And a battling Mark Say refusing to go down. Buckley and Wooden make the stop.
You see Ty Detmer gaining more and more confidence. You were talking to Kevin Turner the other day. He said, boy, he got a little feisty in the huddle the other day. This is a mild-mannered kid right here. If you see him in street clothes, you don't think of him as a football player. But he just moved to his right, threw the ball quickly to Mark Say. Mark Say, by the way, playing with one kidney. Played for the San Diego Chargers before he came out here with the Eagles. Quick throw, good yardage, first down.
Sam with a little colorful bit of information here as a by the way.
Yeah, by the way, one kidney.
Yes. And here's Waters. On first down, Waters gets to the 11, stopped by the rookie Darrell Gardner.
The interception just a second ago. William Thomas reaches up and touches the ball, repaying a little bit of the favor that Mamula gave him when he picked up the fumble a week ago against the Giants and ran in for a touchdown. He tips it in the air, and Brian Dawkins is right there. There is no interference, even though Dawkins was touching the receiver, because the ball was tipped.
2nd down and 7 at the 11. The running backs Waters and Turner. And Detmer with the handoff to Waters. He's able to work his way inside the 10-yard line. Kevin Turner, yes, telling us the other day that Ty Detmer, usually very low-key guy, got a bit feisty, as you mentioned, in the huddle last week in the game against the Giants. He was upset and let his teammates know it, which stunned everyone. We asked Kevin, was there a little off-color language? Yeah. He would not reveal that.
I think he said that a dadgummit slipped out.
Oh, no.
Yes, once again.
Blows the image.
We have a sports flash.
A 3rd down and 4 at the 8. And Detmer throwing, end zone, it is intercepted. Wooden, the free safety, the rookie from Notre Dame, stopping the Eagle drive, and the pass once again in the end zone intended for Irving Fryer.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Genuine Chevrolet, the cars more Americans trust. By American Express. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, American Express helps you do more. By the Nicoderm CQ patch, you bring a commitment. Nicoderm CQ brings the rest. And by Stanley. Since 1843, Stanley has been helping people do things right.
Well, the Dolphins take over on the interception by Philadelphia native Sean Wooden, the man who took over after Gene Atkins was released following the Seattle game. So Wooden is back as the starter at free safety. He began preseason as the starter and then injured his neck. That pass was intended for Irving Fryer. Well, Ty Detmer not able to connect with Fryer, and the Dolphins take over at their 20-yard line. Abdul-Jabbar once again having difficulty accelerating. Ronnie Dixon, the 3-year man from Cincinnati, getting the wraps on Abdul-Jabbar.
And Ray Rhodes has a way of keeping Ronnie Dixon alive. You know, he was out of football in 1994, and he was driving a truck in North Carolina, and every time he has a bad day at practice or an off game, he'll find a little bottle of No-Dos in front of his locker.
Yes.
Ray Rhodes reminding him how tough it is to stay awake with those over, cross-country hauls.
Now that is motivation.
That's motivation. Both coaches are very good at that.
Second down and 13 from the 17-yard line. A deep drop now by Erickson, and then he lost his balance. He slipped, but Red Hall will receive credit for the sack.
Red Hall is an interesting story. He missed 13 games last year with blood clots in his lung. As Craig Erickson sets up, his footing is going to give way. The first time we've seen any problem with the footing, even though we had a lot of rain here yesterday. He's really just sliding, moving around, and his foot slips out from under him. I don't think that had anything to do with the surface. As he goes down, though, Red Hall is going to get credit for another sack.
3.5 for the season for Hall. And this crowd urging the defensive unit on. It's a third down and 20. Back at the 10. Erickson stepping up. Erickson picking one, and he's able to complete out across the 40-yard line. O.J. McDuffie. A 36-yard pass play, and that gets the Dolphins out of the hole.
O.J. McDuffie over the middle. You know, when that ball's in the air that long, there are a lot of defenders that can get to it. Got to keep your concentration. You're going to see him come across the middle, and the defenders are all in zone. You watch, all their heads are looking back towards the quarterback. They see the ball in the air. McDuffie, though, is taking away the angle of anybody coming in and making a quick hit on him. Big play coming out of the back of the, almost backed up on that one.
That was a third down and 20, and O.J. continues his mastery on third down. Yep. First and 10 at the 46. Erickson stepping up again, and once again a beautiful throw. Randall Hill has the first down and some more.
I started to say, Craig, run the ball. You had 2 chances earlier that you could have made first downs. In that case, first down or maybe yardage. It was a first down call. But he keeps his eyes down the field. The other thing you notice with a good quarterback, he never takes his hand or his fingers off the laces. Let's watch Craig as he looks down the field and searches the little token fake right there on the play. He's looking, he's looking. Now his head and eyes are still up, but he never takes his fingers off the laces, so he's ready to throw the ball if he sees an open receiver.
And that's a 20-yard pickup, a first down at the Eagle. 32, 6:20 remaining in this first half. Now a good hole for Abdul-Jabbar. And he's hit down by Hollis Thomas and Greg Jefferson. Marv Albert with Sam Weish at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. We come up on 6 minutes to go in this first half. The Eagles striking early. 2 touchdown passes from Detmer to the one-time Dolphin Fryer. Off to the 14-0 lead. Nedney able to connect on a 37-yard field goal, and now the Dolphins on the move following the interception by Wooden. Here's Abdul-Jabbar with a first down. Willis and Zordich combined to make the stop. Both clubs come in with records of 4-2. Both teams without their starting quarterback. Rodney Peete is out for the season. Dan Marino went down with the ankle injury, a broken right ankle. but he is back as the third emergency quarterback. Bernie Kosar is number 2. There is an outside shot. And of course, if Jimmy Johnson went to Marino, it would undoubtedly be in the 4th quarter, because otherwise the other 2 guys can't return. And again, Abdul-Jabbar off the good opening. He's able to pick up yardage. Willis and Woodard combined to make the stop. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the rookie from UCLA, emerging from Jimmy Johnson's training camp doghouse. Jimmy apparently didn't like his practice habits at first. Got off to the good start. In fact, AFC Player of the Week following his performance against New England when he ran for 115 yards. But recently, things have slowed down. Certainly the absence of Marino has contributed to that. It's a 2nd down and 5 at the 16. Abdul-Jabbar picking his way, running well. Trying to get to the marker. Stopped at the 11 by the combination of Zordich and Dawkins.
This drive has the same look that the Philadelphia Eagles had in their first 2 drives. It looks like Miami is pretty much moving the ball at will. They're running the ball both sides. They're completing their passes, and when they get into that tough situation, 3rd and 20, Greg Erickson comes up with a big play to O.J. McDuffie. But Abdul-Jabbar off the right side, you just see movement by the offensive line against the Philadelphia Eagles. He doesn't really make any contact with anybody until he's well down the field. Just short. Not a bad situation, though, at just outside the 10-yard line right here. 3rd down and inches like that. Your hope here is that you don't just make the 1st down, which leaves you with a 1st and goal at the 10 or just inside. You'd like to make 3 or 4 yards, 4 or 5 yards right here. So you've got a 1st and goal, just outside the 5-yard line. Much easier situation.
So the 9th play of the drive coming up. Robert Wilson has checked in at fullback. 3rd and inches. Quarterback sneak. And we'll have to wait and see where they place it.
Well, there goes my strategy right out the window. That's why I'm up here. Really, my point was that you don't want to start too many 1st and 10 situations at the 10-yard line, but getting the 1st down and keeping the drive alive was more important.
And the Dolphins do pick it up.
And Jimmy Johnson, I think, is showing it's not really conservative. It is just a smart game plan. Control the ball. Keep your defense off the field as much as you can. Use your running game, which is good, and keep Craig Erickson in positive situations where he doesn't have to carry the team. Punts aren't all that bad. I don't expect him to punt from here, though.
It is a 1st and 10, just outside the 10. Abdul-Jabbar trying to go wide. He's running well, though. Zordich and Dawkins making the stop. Getting back to Dan Marino, Sam, I think that Jimmy Johnson's plan, depending on how Dan felt, and the feeling is that he will have pain the next 3 or 4 weeks no matter what. Yesterday when we were talking to Jimmy, he said he wanted to have him as the number 2 quarterback. I think he would rather go into the Dallas game feeling that Marino has had some work rather than just put him in there, because he'll be ready for next week.
He'll be ready, but he gets 1/4 of the practice where he did this past week, so he's going to have some work, even though he doesn't get into this. He gets some practice time.
Well, the Eagles did a good job to close off Abdul-Jabbar. 7 rushes in a row for Miami. And even with Marino at quarterback, this was the new philosophy for the Dolphins. Jimmy Johnson looking more to the run. And certainly the case with Craig Erickson in there.
Well, I think we showed that just a moment ago when we were talking about Abdul-Jabbar's average per carry. But when Marino's in the game, the threat of the pass is much bigger than it is when you've got a different quarterback, especially when you've got a new different quarterback, a quarterback that's new to the team.
2 minutes remaining now, 1st half. When we come back, a 3rd down and 6. Well, following the interception by Sean Wooden, the Dolphins driving back the other way have had the ball for 6 minutes and 50 seconds. It's a 3rd down and 6 from just outside the 6-yard line with 2 minutes left. 1st half, Erickson looking, throwing, and it is a touchdown. Randall Hill rolling into the end zone. We had to wait for the official indication. So Randall Hill catching it inside the 1 and then able to roll his way because he was untouched. And it appears Jimmy Johnson is going for the 2-pointer.
Shotgun formation. Craig Erickson has plenty of time, as he has all day. Ball thrown low. You want to keep the ball thrown below the waist in a situation like this, so there's no chance of it being tipped. And, of course, when you catch the ball and nobody touches you, you can roll in for a touchdown. Let's think about this. The Dolphins intercepted in the end zone just 6.5 minutes ago, and now they drive down and score right before the half. Big turn of events.
14-9 the score. Miami is 0 for 3 in two-point conversions. Jarris McPhail is on the field. Erickson throwing, and he has it. Picks up the 2 points, combining with the tight end, Troy Drayton. So with 1:55 remaining, first half will step away. The Dolphins controlling the ball for 6 minutes and 55 seconds. 12 plays, 80 yards, capped off by the 6-yard touchdown pass play. And here's Derek Witherspoon on the return. Good coverage by Miami as he fights his way out to the 35. A 15-yard return. Tim Jacobs, Chris Singleton on the stop.
Craig Erickson finishing a 7-minute drive with a touchdown pass that put Miami back into this ball game. Randall Hill making the catch. Dan Marino seeing the action on the field right in this ball game. And, of course, Jimmy Johnson immediately getting the word from upstairs, the best thing to do, go for 2 points, and they did.
The Eagles on first down go to Ricky Waters. 1:45 and counting remaining. In this first half, it is now the Eagles with a 14-11 lead. Jimmy Johnson reacting to the touchdown. Now checking upstairs with his coaches, and obviously the decision is go for the 2.
The coaches upstairs are in a calmer state. They've got everything in front of them. They got that chart, when to go for 2 and when not to. They get the word to Jimmy.
Second down and 8. Detmer able to connect over the middle for the first down. Chris T. Jones with his first reception, met by Zach Thomas. Eagles in the hurry-up. Clock is running. They do have their 3 timeouts remaining. Miami with 2 timeouts left as we come up on 1 minute left in the half. And again, the completion by Detmer has looked sharp. Irving Fryer out at midfield, met by the right corner, Calvin Jackson for Fryer. That is his 4th catch, and a timeout has been called. Timeout taken by the Eagles. Well, coming up, the Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC halftime report. Greg Gumbel, Chris Collinsworth, Joe Gibbs, Mike Ditka will bring you all the scores and highlights of today's action around the league, plus an interview with Jerry Rice. That is all ahead at halftime. We have 55 seconds remaining in the second quarter.
They still have 2 timeouts left, the Philadelphia Eagles do. So do the Miami Dolphins. The Eagles on their last 2 drives didn't have much success. 3 plays and a punt, and then 5 plays, and then the interception, which became very important because Miami had the 15-yard penalty, gave field position to the Eagles. They drove down, then the interception in the end zone, and Miami, of course, with the 7-minute drive to score just before or just at the 2-minute mark. And now Philadelphia.
2nd and 1 as we resume. And Detmer finds Waters, and he has the first down inside the 40-yard line. The tackle by Thomas. So Ricky Waters with his 2nd catch of the day. Ray Rhodes telling us that he wanted to use Waters more frequently as a receiver out of the backfield. First down at the Dolphin 38-yard line. Detmer getting the good protection. A flag is down as Waters makes the catch again, and again he's greeted by Thomas.
When they look at the film, they're probably going to say to themselves they should have called timeout after Waters' catch just a moment ago. The holding, of course, will stop the clock.
Hands to the face by the offense, number 73. 10-yard penalty, repeat first down.
73, the right guard, Lester Holmes. 4th year out of Jackson State.
We get a chance to look at it. That is illegal. You can't do it. Now, if your hand goes up there and it slides around, there's a lot of contact going on, you pull it away quickly, they're not going to call it. But he left that one up there, and of course, with our stop action, he left it up there a long time.
Yes, he did.
Probably wasn't quite that long.
He will point out, not that long.
Yeah.
All right, 1st and 20. Detmer after the pump. Comes up short.
Actually, just as he lets it go, Ricky Watters turns upfield, never sees the ball coming, ends up falling harmlessly to the ground. This is the second time we've seen a quarterback slip. We saw Craig Erickson in the last drive. Watch Ty Detmer, his back foot hits. Now, the problem, look at the angle of his lean. Quarterbacks or anybody, when you're changing direction and when you drop back, you drop straight back, plant, and change direction, come forward. You want your weight over your plant foot. He was leaning so far, the foot slipped out from under him.
It is a 2nd down and 20. Detmer's had a very fine first half, though. 10 of 14, 107 yards. And he'll add to that with the completion to Chris T. Jones, who was able to get out of bounds to stop the clock with 21 seconds remaining in the half. Well, coming up next on most of these NBC stations, game 2 of our NFL doubleheader. Most of you will see the Denver Broncos hosting the Baltimore Ravens. Others will see the Bengals and the 49ers or the Steelers square off against the Oilers or regional action. 21 seconds remaining in the half. 3rd down and 9 for the Eagles at the Dolphin 38-yard line. And Denver again connects with Marseille.
Call timeout right now. Flag down. We'll stop the clock. See if the official, yeah, he's going to stop the clock and not going to call the timeout against, and roughing the passer. That's a 15-yarder at the end of the play.
Norman Hand involved along with Zach Thomas on the tackle. Say with his 3rd catch. And now Detmer comes over to find out the interpretation. Here it is.
Personal foul, roughing the passer by the defense, number 96. Helmet-to-helmet contact with the quarterback.
Well, that is one time Philadelphia Eagle defensive end Daniel Stubbs called on the penalty.
Daniel Stubbs doesn't think it's a penalty because the call was he went towards the head. He went at the head. And the quarterbacks are being protected by the referees. For those reasons, they don't want him to get hurt. Ty Detmer was hit in the Dallas game and was not goofy. He really doesn't even remember the last part of the Dallas game from a hit just like that.
He was not goofy.
Goofy or woozy. Woozy or goofy.
And a 1st down at the 12-yard line. I love when you talk technical, Sam. 13 seconds remaining in the half. And Detmer throwing for the end zone. Incomplete. Intended for Say. Defended by J.B. Brown.
If Brown doesn't get that head around, the interference call in the end zone would put the ball on the 1-yard line. And I'm not sure he got his head around in this particular instance. Here's J.B. Brown looking at the defender, at the receiver, and he goes up, never turns his head around, but apparently never touched the receiver. If he puts his hand on that receiver with his head still looking at the receiver, the official can call it. That looked like just an overthrown pass. Means no penalty anyway.
10 seconds remaining in the half. Eagles do have 2 timeouts remaining. And again, Detmer looking end zone and throwing. Touchdown! Irving Fire again. And he beats Terrell Buckley.
And I know why Jimmy Johnson is going to be mad when this play's over with. They had a blitz on. Zach Thomas was among the blitzers, and he got hit immediately and just kind of stood there. So there was man-to-man coverage down the field with no pressure on the quarterback. The result, a touchdown. See the blitz coming. There you see it. He gets hit, but he doesn't keep coming. He just waits. So the quarterback has plenty of time. But when you've got a blitz on, you're leaving everybody else man-to-man. The extra point is good.
So Irving Fryer, who played the past 3 years for Miami, signed with the Eagles as a free agent, has caught all 3 touchdown passes. Oh, Jimmy Johnson is upset once again. He was indicating that there should have been a holding penalty on that last play of the touchdown with Detmer connecting with Fryer.
There was a lot of time for Ty Detmer to find the open receiver, Irving Fryer, and Jimmy Johnson from the sideline, or maybe somebody upstairs, pointed out that there was holding. Let's see if we can see it right here. It looked like you could see at least the impression of it. Barrett Brooks pulled Shane Burton down right at the very end, to your left of the screen, right there. I think he has a complaint.
the kickoff by Anderson. He bounces it, and it's picked up by one of the up men as time runs out. Backup tight end Frank Wainwright. And a little extracurricular activity. Sylvester Wright of the Eagles getting involved with O.J. Brigance, backup linebacker of the Dolphins.
Let's see if this is post possession.
Offsetting personal fouls on both teams after the play. The half is over. The fouls are not enforced by rule. And that's the end of the first half.
So a splendid first half for Ty Detmer. 13 of 18, 143 yards, 3 touchdown passes to Irving Fryer. And at the half, it's the Eagles 21-11 over the Dolphins. Now let's go to Greg Gumbel in New York. Back at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, Marv Albert with Sam Weish. The Eagles over the Dolphins as we head to the second half, 21-11. Jimmy Johnson, Sam, is still upset about what he felt was a holding call on that third touchdown pass from Detmer to Fryer. This is moments ago when he came out for the second half.
Which means that they went in there at halftime and the coaches were confirming what Jimmy Johnson saw. Watch the left tackle right here, Barrett Brooks against Shane Burton. You see the left arm reach behind him. Now watch it as he pursues the quarterback, pull down. That's holding every day of the week. Classic example of it. And really should have been seen. The problem is the official, Ed Ockley, a referee, is standing to the right. And he is not able to see what takes place on the left. Marv, watch how Irving Fryer makes a move to the outside, then comes back inside. Look at Terrell Buckley jumping on the outside move. Irving Fryer wide open for the touchdown just before the half. And that makes it a 10-point ball game, 21-11. But Jimmy Johnson legitimately has reason to be upset.
It is an overcast 54-degree day in Philadelphia. 65,000 a capacity crowd at Veterans Stadium for the Miami Dolphins and the Philadelphia Eagles. For the first time in 4 weeks, Dan Marino back in uniform, making it back from the broken right ankle. He is listed as the emergency third quarterback, but could be